group of randy Neanderthals contributed to all the DNA in modern humans, according to what scientists recently found. A handful of amorous Neanderthals, possibly as few as 20 people, 20 individuals, likely to have provided all the DNA originating from the species which is found in modern humans. This is according to the new study. Siri McGrath Express UK reports. But the Denisovans, which was a lesser understood branch of the human family, are likely to have intermixed with modern humans in at least two mixing events, meaning the DNA from them makes up a higher proportion of the genetic code of some populations of people living in East Asia and Oceania. The study finds that most comprehensive analysis of human genetic diversity to date, after sequencing of 929 human genomes by scientists at the Wellcome Sanger Institute, University of Cambridge in the UK, they suggest that Neanderthal ancestry of modern humans can be explained by just one major mixing event, probably involving several Neanderthal individuals who came into contact with modern humans a little after the latter had expanded out of Africa. The study's first authors, Dr. Anders Bergström of the Francis Crick Institute and an alumnus of the Wellcome Sanger Institute, and he says that our results imply that several Neanderthal individuals contributed genetic material, but it's difficult to say if it was a question of tens or hundreds or even a larger number. It's certainly possible that modern humans and Neanderthals lived side by side for some period of time, but it's also possible that these were only sporadic encounters. Likewise, genomes cannot say much about the geographical location where the admixture occurred. It's commonly assumed that it took place in the Middle East shortly after a group of modern humans arrived from Africa about 50 to 60,000 years ago. And by contrast, even though far less is known about them, there is evidence of more sustained interbreeding with Denisovans, studies having indicated between 3 and 5% of the DNA of Melanesians and Aboriginal Australians are around 6% in Papua New Guinea, derived from the extinct species. Dr. Bergström said, "We do not address the timing of Denisovan admixture in this paper, but previous researchers estimate that it occurred shortly after Neanderthal admixture, something like 45 to 55,000 years ago." And present-day genomes tell us very little about where the admixture occurred geographically. But because Denisovan ancestry today is found in the highest proportions in Oceania, it's commonly assumed that it took place somewhere in Southeast Asia. The study suggests some DNA from Neanderthals is also present in modern-day people living in West Africa, but in a much smaller percentage. Dr. Bergström said, "I think this finding speaks to a more general trend in the understanding of human prehistory, in that things are often more complex than they seem at first." He says, while Neanderthal admixture likely occurred outside Africa, some groups then migrated back into Africa much later, carrying this Neanderthal ancestry with them, and the pattern we see in genomes today are thus often the product of multiple layers of migration and admixture. And Bergström said this is very important. It highlights how, in order to understand the landscape of genetic differences in modern humans, it was necessary to understand the evolution, the history, and how it shaped. And he said, past processes of separation, migration, admixture, and population size changes underlie why our genomes look the way they do today. There are definitely many features discovered to be made about human evolution, particularly in Africa, he says, where we are only just scratching the surface. He says our findings in this study give some insight into the interscale over which present-day human population diversified within Africa, but the details of this process are still a complete muddle. He says ultimately, ancient DNA will likely be needed to further illuminate our complex past, and it will be particularly important for better understanding human evolution in Africa, as well as facilitating medical research for the full diversity of human ancestries. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.